What's up, Broncos country? Hope you guys having a great day, man. It's your boy Mark here, Marcky Sports Denver. Like and subscribe if you guys love all the latest Denver Broncos news. Speaking of the Broncos, they got some key free agents heading into the 2026 offseason. Not as many as we had anticipated, thanks to George and Sean Payton doing a really great job of being proactive and signing a lot of their core guys. We're going to go through some of the key guys, the bigger name players that are going to set to hit the market in March once the new league year opens, and discuss which ones I think we should look to re-sign and which ones I think that we should just absolutely let walk. So hope you guys enjoy this, man. I have a link to the description below to my buddy Kodiak Broncos podcast. He made a very similar video talking about the same thing. Check out his thoughts there. But without further ado, man, let's get into this and let's talk about the key guys, right? So the list is not that long, and it's really not filled with a lot of big names. Alex Singleton, Justin Strnad, PJ Locke, John Franklin-Myers, JK Dobbins, Adam Troutman, and Lil Jordan Humphrey. I think the most significant name on here and the best player on this list is John Franklin-Myers. But yeah, again, the weakest positions for the Denver Broncos happen to be inside linebacker, which is what Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad both play. And also tight end on the offensive side has been abysmal. In fact, it's been just an absolute dumpster fire at the tight end position for 10 plus years. It's been awful. Awful. And that's what Adam Troutman plays. Lucas Kroll's another tight end that's a pending free agent. I wouldn't necessarily call him a key free agent, though. So let's go through the list initially and kind of discuss a little bit about who I think that we should resign and who I think that we should let walk. Now, it's not a really long list of guys that I think that we should retain, but let's go through it. Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad. So my biggest thing with Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad, both of them, is it really isn't that, it doesn't have that much to do with them as players and their abilities. I think Alex Singleton had an unbelievably inspiring season. He made a lot of big plays for this Broncos team. Let's not get that twisted. But let's also not let it cloud the 3-4 years that he's been with the team in terms of a lot of the flaws that he has, and really being the biggest part of the defense that opposing offenses always seem to target. So I love the player as a person. I love the leadership traits and all of that he brings. But unfortunately, it is time to walk away from him and really revamp the entire running linebacker room. Just completely revamp it, in my opinion. And that same thing goes for Justin Strnad. I thought Justin Strnad, when he had filled in for Dre Greenlaw in the games that he was out and filled in for Alex Singleton in the one game that he missed, I thought he was the best off-ball linebacker that we had on the team. He's obviously a really great special teams player. But with Justin Strnad is a couple things. Firstly, he had said very vocally that he would like to go to a team where he's going to get a starting job. And that's very much understandable. I would do the same thing if I was a player. So you can't knock him for that. And so that being the case, I don't want the Broncos to re-sign him with this assumption that he's just going to be the starter. Because here's the thing. Is Dre Greenlaw and Justin Strnad, or if we run it back with the same inside linebacker group that we have, is it good enough? I would say the answer is no. Is it going to be terrible? No. But the problem is that we're in this hamster wheel of a cycle every single year at specific position groups. And it's usually linebacker and tight end. And lately it's been running back as well, where we keep bringing guys back because we like the kind of leadership traits that they had and we're comfortable and they're solid. But what does that do is it limits the floor. It completely limits the floor for this team. It limits the ceiling. I'm sorry. It raises the floor. We know what they're going to get, but it completely caps you out at the ceiling. And it is time that we find more playmakers in the middle part of the defense. We need to get faster, and we need to have guys that make plays more often and more consistently. And that is where I'm at with this linebacker room, is that I just feel like, listen, even if you said, hey, we're going to give Drew Sanders another go, because, at this point you might as well, and we're going to have Karene Reed and Lavelle Bailey battle it out to see who starts next to Dre Greenlaw, at least at that point, you potentially raise the ceiling of the room, potentially. You could also lower it. I get that. But it's time that we start making those moves and we start taking the risks at that position and stop ignoring it or try to put Band-Aid solutions that we're comfortable with. that's why it's time to move on from both of these guys. Justin Strnad is an amazing special teams player. I get it. But if he's going to be a starter on this team, he's not going to play a lot of special teams. And you see that's what happened this year. The games that he played significantly on defense, he was very, very limited in terms of the special teams contributions and snaps that he played. So time to move on from both of them. It sucks, but it is what it is. John Franklin-Myers, I would love to bring back because he's a phenomenal player, but it doesn't make sense for the Broncos to bring him back. We're spending a lot of money on the defense. I think this is the highest paid defense in the league. We got, big time talent and all across the board. DJ Jones got a new contract. Zach Allen got a new contract. Nick Bonito got a new contract, right? Talanoa Hufanga we brought in the last offseason as a free agent. Dre Greenlaw we brought in as a free agent. We re-signed, obviously, Pat Surtain to a big-time contract as well. It's a very well-paid defensive room, and you've got to be able to know where to allocate your dollars, and we have to start taking some money from the defense and allocating it towards the offensive side of the ball, period. That's what's going to have to happen, and the kind of money that he's going to get is going to be a lot. He's going to make himself a lot of money, and I hope he does. John Franklin-Myers is a really good player, but it just doesn't seem to make sense moving forward, and I think it's pretty obvious. They haven't had any contract talks with him at all, and it kind of is what it is, not at that point. So I wish him all the best. I think he's phenomenal. I think drafting Savion Jones last year was really significant. That kind of spelled the end that this might be the last year of John Franklin-Myers in a Broncos uniform. We'll see how he progressed throughout his rookie year. He didn't play a lot, but we'll see how much he develops, especially this offseason. Usually that year 1 to year 2 offseason, that's where you see these guys really transform their bodies, put weight on, and really change the way that they play. So we'll see with him. Also, extending Malcolm Roach, which is another player that we had signed to a contract, said a lot too, because we signed him for a lot cheaper than what John Franklin-Myers is, and Malcolm Roach is a very disruptive, very good player that if you needed him to start, he could. You also got Ioma Wazirike, right, who's looks to have taken another step forward as well in his development. So you've got a lot of depth there. You got a lot of guys that can fill in. I think that they'll add to the room in the draft and maybe with some lower paid free agents, but it doesn't make sense with John Franklin-Myers. Adam Troutman, sorry, dude, you got to go. I don't think it's going to happen, man. I just think Sean Payton has this crazy affinity for Adam Troutman, but he's someone that I really don't understand having on this ball club. He plays 75, 80% of the snaps. He was drafted pretty highly from Dayton, and he was a receiving monster in Dayton. But since he's come into the league, he's been known as a blocking tight end. The problem with Adam Troutman is he's not very good at blocking. And he doesn't really give you any upside at all in the pass game. So I get it. Sean Payton's comfortable with him. He was an integral part of the last 3 seasons, especially the first 2, in my opinion, because it allowed for him to really be able to sell Sean Payton's vision and get the culture and the team and the locker room right. So kudos to him for that. I know he was a big part of that, but it's time for him to go. And just like we had talked about with the inside linebacker position in terms of capping yourself out, it is tenfold the problem at tight end. We need to completely revamp the room if you could. If we even traded or released Evan Ingram, I'd be open to that as well. It needs to be redone from the bottom up. And what I mean by that is that if you're going to bring in guys, whether through free agency or through the draft, that are going to be your blocking tight ends, they need to be good at blocking. They need to actually do that job well. I'm good with that. I understand why teams have blocking tight ends. I understand why Sean Payton is so adamant about his tight ends blocking. I get it. It makes perfect sense from a football standpoint. You don't want to be able to give the defense any clues as to what plays you're running. And you want to be able to run certain pass concepts off of the run play and vice versa. So I understand it. But if you're going to bring in guys that are blockers, they need to be able to block. I can't say that to you guys enough. A good example or something that I would be a very big advocate of, even though it's way early to start talking about free agents, in my opinion, is a guy like Charlie Kolar, right? I think he's the son of former Broncos coach Bill Kolar, defensive line coach. Or he might be the nephew or something like that. But Charlie Kolar was a very good blocking tight end in college. He got drafted by the Baltimore Ravens. And since he's been in the league, he hasn't been very productive catching the ball, but he's been one of the best blockers. So you build it out with guys like that. I get it. And then you get guys that are mismatch nightmares, right? So I'm not just going to sit here and say, let's cause a problem and release all the tight ends that we have. We still have root beer Nate Atkins on the team. But you need to go for the upside. You need to go for the guys that really can make a big difference. In free agency, there's not a whole lot. Like David Njoku is somebody that could make sense. He's getting a little bit older, but I still think he could be productive. Obviously, Dallas Goedert, same kind of thing with him. He could be really productive. And we know both of them are at least adequate at blocking, but they can stretch the field and be productive in the tight end room. But most importantly in the draft, I don't want to have any of these conversations anymore. I'm sick of having them where it's like, oh, Eli Stowers is an athletic freak. He's an unbelievable mismatch nightmare. He's somebody that catches everything and runs 4.4, 4.5 speed and a crazy athlete, but he can't block, so we can't draft him. No, I'm over that. Get the blocking guys to be able to block, and allow for Eli Stowers or guys with a big play upside to be able to eat. So obviously, we'll know more about the draft and guys that would really make sense. Because if you don't have any blocking tight ends, then Eli Stowers is not going to be something that makes sense. But we're going down a rabbit hole. So this entire team positional group needs to just be revamped from the ground up, in my opinion. Lil Jordan Humphrey, man, again, Kodiak made a really good point in his video. He said this is a guy that got cut from a 4-13 Giants team that had banged up receivers everywhere, and he got cut from them. So why is he playing 80% of the snaps in the AFC Championship game for us? I don't know. I don't get it. Here's my thing with Lil Jordan Humphrey. If he's brought in and he doesn't have to play 80% of the snaps like was the case when we first brought him in, he was playing like 20%, 30%, then I can see that he's going to have some value. Otherwise, no thank you. No reason for it. Let's move on. Let's find guys that can block really well that are a lot better. And I think that the development of Pat Bryant is going to lead to that being the case because he's a significantly better receiver than Lil Jordan Humphrey is already, and he was just a rookie this year. And he could block his butt off as well. So those are all the guys, man. I like to see him walk. Let's bring in some fresh blood. Let's bring in some guys that are younger and that have a lot of talent and a lot of upside. In terms of the guys that I want to retain, and to be honest with you, I'm not even that adamant about us retaining them. I think if we let both these guys walk, if we let all the free agents walk, I'll be fine with it. Obviously, depending on who we replace them with. JK Dobbins has been awesome, man. The running game just completely fell off a cliff after he got hurt, which was unfortunate. Obviously, a very talented runner. Obviously, somebody that I happen to really just grow to like. Like, he seems like a super personable person. My only hesitation with JK Dobbins, aside from the obvious in terms of the injury concerns, my only hesitation with JK Dobbins is if you bring him back, I don't want this front office to think, okay, problem solved. We'll just go into next offseason with RJ Harvey, who's going to be better in year 2, and JK Dobbins, and we're set. That's not going to be the case. JK Dobbins can be a piece to the solution, but by no means should he be the solution. All right? And this is a really good free agent class for running backs. There's a lot of ballers, man. Breece Hall, Kenneth Walker III, Tyler Algier, just to name a few, Rico Dowdle. All of those guys that I just named would be upgrades to J.K. Dobbins. They'd be younger than J.K. Dobbins, and they would have a much cleaner injury history than J.K. Dobbins. So, again, you want to bring him in, compete, make this room unbelievably competitive, and know that you have a veteran like J.K. to be able to come in should there be an injury. I'm good with that. But I like the idea of J.K. Dobbins being someone that spells a running back, or maybe he's inactive on a lot of game days, and then we play him if there's an injury. That's something that makes sense because that's going to help preserve him, and you know you're going to get production out of him. But you can't run him into the ground. You just can't. He's gotten too many injuries. I get it. Knee injuries, I mean, they've all been different. Like, he couldn't really do much about the injury this past year with the dirty hip drop tackle against the Raiders. It was unlucky. But listen, guys, the best predictor of future injury is past injury. That's an absolute fact. So that's how it is with JK. So I'd be fine if they brought him back. Again, I don't really care. PJ Locke fits in the same boat. I think he's a really great backup safety, a depth safety that you could play in certain packages. If you need him to be your full-time starter, he can do so for a few games like he did this year. I thought he performed admirably, made some really good plays, like the guy. Don't want him to necessarily be the starter. But I'm fine with the Broncos bringing him back because he wouldn't be projected to be the starter unless they decided to walk on from Brandon Jones for the cap relief. That's something to keep an eye out on. But again, with PJ, we'll see. I thought Devin Key took a huge step. He's obviously a phenomenal all-pro special teams player. He looked like he was pretty decent when he played again and took a step in that department as well. But you can always add to this room. You can get cheaper. You don't have to spend the kind of money that you've been spending on the safety room as well. So fine to retain either one of those guys. Otherwise, I look at this offseason, when Sean and George Payton say they're going to be aggressive this year, I believe them. They were aggressive last year. People tend to forget that. Obviously, we don't have the cap hit from the Russell Wilson deal anymore. But the reason that I really believe that is because I think what this team this year has really proven, I feel like I think when Sean Payton last year said that this is a team that, could make some noise and is capable of making it to the Super Bowl, I think he meant it. But now that it happened and we went to the AFC Championship game and lost to the Patriots by 3 points with a backup quarterback, like, we're a Super Bowl team. And our Super Bowl window is wide open. Absolutely wide open. And it's much clearer this offseason than it was last offseason. And so because of that, they know they have a small window to be able to maximize. I think that they will be more aggressive. I think that they'll make maybe an aggressive trade for a wide receiver one. I think they'll go out there and they'll take swings on some guys because they know they're going to need to. So I'm excited about that, and I can't wait to see what this offseason brings to us. But I believe that that's going to be the case because it's time. It's time for that. And, with this team, it's a 14-win team. I thought they were phenomenal. I mean, I know being critical of them makes it seem like we weren't happy with them, and that's not the case. We're just trying. Now expectations got raised even further, so you have to have expectations as a fan. And one thing that was really frustrating with this team is that you consistently were talking about the same things happening all year long. We got better at the end. The only thing that we really cleaned up at the end of the year was the pre-snap penalties and the plays, snapping the ball with a second left on the play clock. That really cleaned up. But we never developed a solid run game. We never committed to the run game. We never got any productions out of our tight ends, and we kept getting burned by tight ends on defense because of the liability that our off-ball linebackers present. So I'm excited, man. Let me know what you guys' big priorities are. Are there anybody on this list that I would not re-sign that you would? Let me know in the comments below, man, and y'all take it easy. Peace.